Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Bhaskar Napte. I am the founder of Pharma Growth Hub, and very recently I have written a book on analytical method validation. The name of the book you can see here, it's Handbook of Analytical Method Validation for Pharmaceuticals. So this book is going to cover a lot of critical aspects as far as validation of analytical procedure is concerned. And this is not a stereotype book where the theory or principles are only going to be discussed or explained. This book talks about implementation of analytical method validation inside the laboratories. So this book is going to give you the real ideas on executing the validation in the lab. And in today's video, I am going to walk you through the content of this book one by one. So let us understand what is the content of the very first chapter. And it talks about introduction to performance characteristics. So this chapter covers why is method validation important, understanding the intended purpose of analytical procedure, challenges in choosing the right parameters, why new analytical methods are constantly needed, and finally, we'll talk about key validation parameters like specificity, selectivity, precision, accuracy, etc. So this book gives you an overview of why validation and what are the important performance characteristics that needs to be considered. But the second book is very important and interesting, and that talks about understanding performance characteristics for test procedures. Now, there are different types of testing procedures like identification test or related substances test or dissolution test. So, how one can understand which performance characteristics or parameters needs to be considered? So, this chapter number 2 explains scientifically and logically which performance characteristics are needed or which performance characteristics are possible and which are not possible. So this chapter is going to give a lot of thought process for you to understanding, because most of the times, guidelines does not explain this kind of theory. And this book is an idea of sharing this logical way, scientific way on various validation topics. Then the third chapter is about prerequisites for analytical method validation. So the third chapter covers what are the important, the activities or points like sample should be in the place, protocol should be in the place. You must have the required chemicals, reagents. What should be your instrument qualification, calibration requirements? All those prerequisites are covered in the chapter number 3. Now the chapter number 4 is very important. And this chapter talks about the designing the concentration matrix for a given type of method. For example, you are validating assay. So what are the various concentrations across linearity? How to perform precision? How to create accuracy samples? So all that will be discussed in the chapter number 4 as per as the assay is concerned. Now, how this discussion is going to take place? So this discussion is going to take place with the help of practical example. So I am going to take one assay analytical procedure, and then I am going to prepare the concentration matrix in front of you. So you will understand, okay, now this is the way precision samples are prepared. This is the way linearity concentrations are decided, or this is the way accuracy samples and concentrations are decided. We'll also talk about, what are the requirements according to the ICH guidelines while discussing all these chapters. The chapter number 5 talks about the concentration matrix for related substances by HPLC. Now, this is one of the very complex topic for conducting the validation because it involves a lot of impurity, known, unknown impurities, the release spec, and then the stability spec. So it's going to be a very important chapter for anyone and everyone who is involved in the related substances method validation execution. Again, the concentration matrix for dissolution is the 6th chapter, and concentration matrix for residual solvent is the 7th chapter. The 8th number chapter talks about the protocol format. So how one can understand the protocol design? What are the important points like objective, then the protocol scope, the structure, essential sections, revalidation and amendment requirement, validation parameters and their acceptance criteria. So all these details are going to be discussed in the protocol format, which is the chapter number 8. Chapter number 9 talks about preparation of a protocol. Now, see, this chapter is really a very important chapter because in this chapter, I am going to explain the preparation of a protocol by taking one practical case studies. And for how many type of tests? For all type of tests like identification, assay, performance characteristics, impurities, and everything. Residual solvent also is going to be covered in the chapter. So you understand how the protocol is designed. So this is a very important activities. And while designing the protocol, what precautions you must be taking, what options you may be providing to the analyst or chemist, how to decide onto the acceptance criteria. So all that is discussed and explained in the chapter number 9, preparation of protocol. The chapter number 10 talks about the report format. So once you complete your validation, once you go through the calculation part, and now the step where you have to summarize all those observations. So what is the language needs to be used? What is the format needs to be followed? All that is going to be explained in the report format or validation report format, which is the chapter number 10. Now, chapter number 11 is about a very important validation parameter, which is forced degradation. Yes, I purposefully, considered a separate chapter for discussion of the force degradation because I get a free hand to explain the FD in great details. And that is exactly happened in this particular chapter. So you understand the types of force degradation studies, role of force degradation in method validation, understanding the mass balance, then understanding peak purity and its evaluation, and finally factors affecting the peak purity measurement. So this chapter is going to guide you on practical basis how to conduct force degradation. Now, the chapter number 12 again talks about force degradation, but for which regulations? For Anvisa Brazil, because Anvisa Brazil has some unique requirement for FD. So I considered writing again a separate chapter for Anvisa's force degradation requirement. And finally, the chapter number 13 talks about common challenges and way forward. So how many common challenges are discussed? Almost 54 common challenges are discussed. And I also given the way out for those 54 challenges. But once you go through this chapter number 13, you will find almost 90 to 80 different challenges are considered. Because within the challenge, I have explained another challenge. And that way you will get around 90 to 100 different challenges. Now, if I glance you through the book, you will find lot many tables, charts, the details, references given, and you will also find, some of the spreadsheet printed inside the book. Now, what is the intention behind giving the spreadsheet? Because spreadsheet is going to help you on how the different parameters are calculated. For example, if you're discussing about concentration matrix preparation, so how this concentration matrix is prepared, and you will find lot many calculation formulas also over here. So each and every calculation, each and every point is elaborated with the base of logical and scientific way. And I always say this is incomplete book without your active participation. Now, what you are expected to do once you receive this book? Now, can you see this blank tables over here? Right? Now, you will find lot many blank spaces and tables inside the book. The concept is explained maybe above the blank space or table, and you have to actually complete the leftover activities. It may be about, suppose, calculating the linearity levels. So I am going to explain the one level and rest others you have to do it by yourself. So this is going to be a lot of fun activities for you as well, understanding. So see, I also consider the analytical test procedure while explaining the details. So this is going to be real implementation book for method validation. Lot many tables, lot many diagrams are included in the book. And I hope and pray that this book is going to guide you on conducting the method validation effortlessly. So thank you so much for considering this book. And if you are really interested to buy this book, you can order a copy today. You will find the Amazon link in the description below. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. Bye-bye.